Well, there's just bits of highlight.
Good afternoon, everybody. We'll make a start. 4:32 p.m. today. If we could all please stand for the cut of hair first.
Whakataka te hau ki te uru. Whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kia uta. Kia mā tara ki tai. Ihi ake ana te atakura. He tio, he huka, he hauhunga, ti hei moriora.
Yeah. Right, looks like we've got a full house today, so there will be no apologies. Except for Bridget.
That didn't take you long.
Except for Bridget. And we're
patch of 6 of them.
early departure. Yes.
Same for me, please. 6:15.
Have you moved?
Yeah, I'll be that same with 6.
You want to we'll be done.
Yeah. So
David's removed, and we got a second for that one. Declarations of interest, new declarations or anything comes up you can think of throughout the agenda, just let us know and get back from the table. That would be great. Number 3, confirmation of the previous minute. We have a mover to those.
Have you moved?
Happy to second. Public forum, no public forums present. And then we move on to part 5, deputation by appointment. Now, the first deputation we have today is Kevin and Jane Bennett speaking on the proposed pedestrian crossing on Waimāero Way. If you're in the audience and like to come up to the table. How's it, 10? Okay, yeah, so we have 10 minutes including time for questions.
Yep.
The deputation.
Thank you very much. First of all, I just get the for your minutes. My wife's name is Janet, not Jane.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
Okay, so good afternoon anyway. And thank you for the opportunity to meet you all today. So we can discuss the concern we've got about the Waimāero Avenue proposed crossing. But before we go any further, I want to make it very clear that we fully support student safety and have no issue with the concept of a crossing facility. What we are concerned about is displacement, where the council proposed to put this crossing. Now, you probably know from papers you've probably already seen, we've had some discussion with council officials about this matter, but unfortunately our concerns haven't been satisfied. So that's why we're here today. I don't propose to go into great detail about our concerns, as I believe they would have been adequately expressed in the written submission we have made to the board, which you've probably hopefully already seen and read. So I don't propose to go over it again. I would make the point though that we have lived at 206 Waimāero Avenue for over 20 years. And we're quite used to cars parking on the street in front of us, particularly students. No issue with that at all. And I parked it outside during short hours. But we're concerned though about the total loss of vehicle parking in that area on right outside our residents during outside school hours, during weekends and school holidays. So no parking. And to me, it just seems a bit strange the way it's set up at the moment. Now, Burnside High School itself is a very lengthy frontage on Waimāero Avenue. So why is the only place deemed suitable by the planner for a crossing facility to be directly in front of the entrance and exit to our place? That's a prime question we've got, that and the car parking. And also, are we able to give it a time frame for this work to go ahead? Because as you probably know, there's a whole lot of work going on in the school grounds at the moment. There's a new science and technology block being built. Trucks are going in and out of the access on the driveway right beside our place. No problems there. We got no problems there at all. But it could be dangerous for any students for having to cross or be close to that driveway. Now, my understanding of talking to the contractors a while ago was that it could be a good 12 months or more years. And there's going to be concrete trucks and goodness knows what else coming in and out of that driveway. So I think that needs to be taken into account as well. So really, I think that's pretty well covers what we want to say. But we're quite happy to answer any questions which you might have. Anything you want to add, Janet?
No, so the main thing is the time frame, knowing that the driveway which pedestrian crossing is going to be next to is going to be used by heavy trucks at least for the next year.
Okay.
Sam,
Hey, thank you, and thanks for your written submission. That was really, really useful as well. Just two things. So, and just so I'm clear. So, would you be? And I don't know if we can do it, but just to flesh it out with you, where right outside your house there's the yellow lines going in, or proposed to be going in. Would you be amenable to that one right outside your house? Perhaps just having no parking restrictions in the school in those two windows of the school day. So that meant you got it for the rest of the day, the weekends and the school holidays.
Yeah, we don't have a problem.
Yeah, okay. And then secondly, just around the timing of that. Yeah, so I mean, so you're kind of comfortable with it if we could look at the parking, but also just line it up with the construction effectively. So you'd be amenable to it, but you know, potentially once that block's finished.
Yeah, we would have a major problem there.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that it's directly on our exit
Yeah.
from our property.
Yeah.
You know, if it could be that way. Or
A fraction that way. Yeah.
And that's why you put it in our submission, was that students would have, okay, we have direct line of sight into our place, okay, that's no ahead of any way. But we know what the kids are like, we see it every day, and how they mill around all the place out there. Has to go right outside our place to get across and across over. What's to stop them coming into our property? Now we all know the students are like they sort of lose track of it, but sometimes what they're doing. And I'm quite sure that they would come into our property at times.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, that's really useful. Thank you.
Okay.
So I don't know who the relevant staff are, but can you start thinking about that, please?
Any other questions from anybody? No, that's really good, and thank you for the detailed written submission as well. Gives us a good chance to digest it before you come in, and so we will have a talk to staff when they come up to do it and try and get some answers to those questions we've got. Thank
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right, the next deputation we had was Jackie Lewis. Speaking on some of the bus improvements on Colton Mill Road.
I'm a husband.
Okay.
Andrew McPhail. Jackie Lewis is my wife for 15 years or so. So the property's under her maiden name, Lewis. Sure. Just to clear that point. Thank you for your time. We're all busy. I think you got the submission that I sent through.
Yes.
It's probably over detailed, but in reality, it does exist as a bit of a worry for us with safety and accidents and everything else. So the proposed bus stop, our property is 41 Colton Mill Road. It's there are 3 houses on that one driveway that exit onto Colton Mill Road. And as we exit on Colton Mill Road, on the left-hand side, there's a current bus stop at the moment. And across the road on the other side is another bus stop. So both those single bus stops seem to work quite well. It's a heavily populated area, that road of Colton Mill Road. I don't know if you've driven down it. There's all the schools around the area, and there's a lot of them. St Margaret's, Rangirooroo, Christ College, Boys and Girls High all service that area. And like the gentleman that was here before me, we have a lot of students around. There's a lot of parking on that road too, which is getting reduced every day by council changes, alterations, improvements, etc. We're not against the bus stops, but I honestly think from a council perspective, you need to probably look at the traffic flow that's going down Kelton-Moore Road and even Rosswell Street. You know, driving here at 4 o'clock, it took me probably 3/4 of an hour down Rosswell Street. There's a lot of congestion. So to add an additional 2 bus stops, I think is what you're proposing. I need clarity on exactly what you are doing, because we received a knock on the door from someone representing the council and said there's a bus stop going out the front of your place, which is currently a clear way at the moment between 7:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning, which you guys have added over the years. So whilst parking is concerned, our major concern is there's going to be an accident. There's going to be a death on that road. The sheer volume of line scooters tearing up and down the footpath, the sheer volume of students leaving all those schools around those times and early in the morning and during the evening. You're proposing putting a bus stop in front of 41 Kelton-Moore Road, and there's one to the neighbour's side, which I think is 55 on the corner of Cheltenham Street, I think it is. So literally we are going out of our driveway with no visibility to the left, no visibility to the right. So we've got to put the nose of the car in the middle of the freeway basically to get out. And we're going to be clipped one of these days. So that's a major concern for us. I don't think it's fair that you should do that. You know, like the gentleman before, we've been there for 20 odd years too. And I just would like to think that youth take on board that it's probably an error of judgment to put bus stop in front of our place. There is another position which I can tell you where to put it, which is in front of the bus stop in 55 on the corner of Cheltenham Street, which is a less dangerous place, I suppose, in the summary to put it. So there is a solution to another bus stop going there if that's your intention. But I just come back on to reiterating again that simple things of if that bus was either side of our driveway, exiting the bus, kids on the footpath, scooters on the footpath, where do we put our bins, all that stuff that goes with it, to me just doesn't make sense. So I'd like to think that the solution that we provided to move the bus stop in front of the existing bus stop on Kelton Road is a viable solution. And if you're not thinking about putting a bus stop in front of the 41 Kelton Road and utilising the clearway which you own, and you decide to take that 7:30 to 9 o'clock hours away and make it full-time clearway, the other thing I don't want to see is a bus screaming into that clearway to get to the bus stop in front of our driveway or adjacent to our driveway and taking out myself, neighbours, kids, dogs, everything else that goes with it. So I hope that's some clarity. You guys have probably never been to this address, so you're looking at the maps on your computer, but
We drive down the road every day.
we live it. And I'm sure you guys might have kids in those schools as well. So I'd like to think there's a suitable solution that we can discuss today or later on at least.
Questions from the team?
Yeah,
James?
quick one from me. So really familiar with it and
Yeah.
have great empathy for your plight there. Seems to make a lot of sense. Just so I'm really clear though, in terms of your preference forward, obviously there's the suggestion of if one does need to go ahead, just locate it further east, essentially that one block east towards Cheltenham. But in terms of order of preference, is your preference actually that there isn't a bus stop added at all? Or
That would be my opposite
okay,
preference, yeah.
so one just flag.
And to be quite honest, it's a bus stop either side of the road, so it's
Yes.
like, it's your intention to turn it into the Christchurch Kelton Road bus exchange. I don't know.
So yeah, so that was my take on it. So that you might think that actually the number of stops is adequate as it is.
I think it is.
But if that's obviously not possible, the second preference would be to locate it east one block.
The lady that called in the house said that because the high rises have been built across all those, those apartment blocks on the river have been all renovated. There's a lot of people living in that area. There's a lot of people in congestion there. And she said that it was there, they were happy to see another bus stop out the front so they could access it. So you've got that side of the equation. A lot of the students, and they will probably thrive to have more buses in Kelton Road, just like the line of scooters that are scattered down the footpath. But in reality, there has to be a built-in factor for safety of people who walk that footpath.
No, that's really clear. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone else on that one? No? All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Appreciate your time.
Hey, the next deputation is
Yeah.
Mark Stocker. Please come and take a seat. Just got 10 minutes.
Okay, I'd like to pick up on the point raised by the young gentleman, and I live on the opposite side of Carlton Mill Road. I think many of the concerns that he has expressed would apply to me too. I live at Kamahi, which is number 18, Carlton Mill Road. I know that in your proposal you are proposing to do what residents of Kamahi are really hoping, because the current location, the exit is hazardous. It's difficult enough for left turning traffic and impossible next to dangerous, as you say, for a right turn. And turning left and then turning right and then left is difficult. Hewitt's Road is very narrow in all those manoeuvrings. The danger is caused by park traffic blocking the view of oncoming vehicles, even when cars are over 1 metre away from the drive, and they're often closer. You can see no traffic when you exit. Both the volume of the traffic and the size of cars, SUVs these days, makes the problem greater. Often when you're exiting, you have little or no vision. I sent a photograph to Aidan Kimberley in confirmation of that, and I'm sure he's willing to share that. I'd like to thank Aidan for being supportive, and Jamie too. Often what residents do, and you said similar things, will drift out, forcing oncoming traffic into the middle of the road. Often drivers resent this, not understanding our situation and hoot their horns. I think, again, as you say, there's a serious accident waiting to happen. Moving the bus stop to the east side of our drive, at least on our side of the road, will at a stroke improve access, and we'd be very grateful to the community board and the CCC if this happens. And indeed, it looks as if you are proposing what residents of Kamahi unanimously support.
Okay. So we're as a board, we're looking at the recommendations we've got and then feeding that in. So yeah, we'll take all that into consideration.
Yes.
But I guess as a board, we're here, we're trying to find the best outcome for the residents.
Absolutely.
While also trying to support the bus network. But
absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm not, as I say, proposing no bus stop. But the moving, and just one additional factor to add, and that is that both number 16 and number 14 are detached houses, and far fewer households and people are therefore affected.
So a quick question from me on that one.
Yes.
So we're looking at the road, and it's obviously moving it east would be kind of down to the right, so closer towards the corner essentially, right? Moving it would be your preference. First preference would be trying to move it.
Yes, from the west side of our drive to the east side of our drive. Quite how that's going to be compatible with the stop on the other side of the road.
I was looking at your photograph on the wall there, where that car's taken, where to the left of that photo there.
Yeah.
But I don't, was it last year or the year before? It's a truck veered over the centre line there and smashed into all those cars on the right hand side and drove the car into that power pole, which is straight over at our place too.
That's right.
So your accident's already happened for
Yes.
whatever reason, and congestion is a major problem.
Absolutely. They were on the same page.
Can I just clarify that quickly, just so just in terms of where the existing one is, do you believe that I just want your thoughts on the existing bus stop that's there?
I'm not happy with it because basically the problem is if we want to exit as the 13 households do, by having a bus stop to the east of where we are will make that exit so much more easy.
So the proposed one is okay there.
The proposed one, I think, is very much better than the current one. So I support that proposal.
Okay, no, that's
for the bus to stop on our side of the road.
Thank you.
Very definitely.
I like the previous submission though. The proposed one isn't ideal, but okay. Thank you for that. That's helpful.
Any other questions on that one from anybody? No, wasn't really thinking of your time on that. Thank you. But our third deputation for the afternoon is from Tanya Gallagher from Muir School. Come and take a seat. Got 10 minutes and answer some questions.
Okay, so I'm representing the Board of Trustees at Merrin School around the proposed plans for the roundabouts on Avonhead Road and Merrin Street and Whittles Road. So we have had in the past some concerns, particularly around the roundabout currently on the Merrin Street Whittles Road corner. Last year we had a student who was hit by a bus there, and so obviously safety for us is a big concern. And we've looked at your proposed plans and have some feedback around that. So some of the, I'll start with perhaps the Whittles Road, Merrin Street roundabout. We had discussed as a board whether there was a possibility of having a pedestrian crossing there. We have one down Merrin Street for our students before and after school. Long term, ideally, we would propose that you consider putting in lights there. The traffic that goes into the intersection is quite quick, and we're very aware that from 8 o'clock in the morning till after 9, and then from 2:30 till 3:30 in the afternoon, there's a high traffic. We are trying to propose that there is more walking of students to school. So our concerns are based around whether there is the availability of having more cushioning around those corners, so that we, whilst they're going into that section, we're wanting them to slow down. But the reality is, unless that's narrowed considerably more, we feel that it wouldn't get the outcome that we would like to see. The islands, we'd like them to be made bigger, so that if we have got students crossing them, we wondered whether there was more space for them to wait in the middle. It's not ideal for us, but obviously with a large volume, we would hope that one in particular. We do wonder why and perhaps you can give us some feedback, why the roundabout at Avonhead Road roundabout they're quite different roundabouts, but you seem to have put a lot more effort into the one at Avonhead Road as opposed to Whittles Road, where we feel the traffic is a lot higher at the Whittles Road roundabout for us. Obviously, we agree that it would be great if you had some speed humps on the approaches, and we wondered whether a pedestrian bar would be a better solution in the short term, and then perhaps in the long term have the lights. We absolutely support anything that you can do with those roundabouts for our students, and we commend the effort that you've put into that already. So, yeah.
Sam?
Yeah, hey, thank you for coming in and doing it. That's fantastic. So just so I'm clear, I was sort of thinking when you mentioned the lights, Aaron's been trying to get lights for how long? And Harewood? 8 years. So I guess the team came in last month and said to us, hey, we've got some quick solutions to respond to the school. So just so I'm clear, you're pretty comfortable with this, but it will be something that longer term you look some further improvements.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in the short term, what you could do, we would fully support, but we would ask that in your long-term plan that you look at the possibility of having lights there. And really, predominantly over the last 10 years, the school has grown considerably. It's, I have a multi-role at the school, so I'm actually a teacher.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And the board rep.
Oh, yes.
So in my time at the school, that we've seen an extra 200 students. Increase
happening at the moment.
And there's lots of happenings around the school.
Yeah. Because one of the things I wondered, and it's probably something for later on, is if my view's always been looking at lights at the top of Whittles Road and Yaldhurst. Yeah. Which if we could tackle something there and then we look at the other end, whether we can it might just begin to reduce a bit of that traffic flow to a more sensible sort of limit.
And I think, what you probably don't see first thing in the morning is there's a lot of people actually trying to cut through those roads to cut the traffic time from the motorway, because the motorway really, it's great,
Yeah, it blocks up though, doesn't
but
it?
that, you know, backs up. So people are looking through those sort of streets, and Whittles Road particularly is a high traffic.
Yeah, no, I live right on the corner side.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, no, fantastic. Thank you. That's really good.
great.
Suresh?
Just to clarify, you mentioned that the treatment given to Marine Withers is different from Marine Avonhead. I
Yes,
didn't spot that. As a
Okay.
layman,
okay.
can you please elaborate on that?
So we found that there's extra curbing on the Avonhead Merrin Street roundabout. And the feedback we've had is that's because it's that the crossing itself is larger. So because of that roundabout, essentially it's a bigger roundabout. So there needs to be more space. That's kind of closed in, but our concern is we find that the Whittles Road roundabout has a lot more traffic, and the speed bumps we think will help that, but we're just wondering why there seemed to be more of that humping on the corners. Essentially that's to slow down the traffic. Yeah.
Any other questions on that one from anyone?
That's great. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, our last deputation for the afternoon is Miklos. Did I pronounce that correctly? Maybe not, maybe. Miklos. Thank you. Come up, take a seat. Talking about the bus stop on Woolridges Road.
I'm a little bit nervous. This will be my first English speech in front of board and in public. So we are not, of course, we are not against public transport, and the reason I am here that we would like to give a suggestion how to make the service a little bit better. So in our area is the Woodridge Road, just around us there is a big park, is a big park, only a few properties on the left and right hand side, and we tried our neighbors around us who plan to use public transport in the future, and they said that all of them, they have the car, so won't have many passengers drop off and pick up in that part of the road. But the roundabout, a little bit, only a few hundred meters from us, there is a small roundabout, and on the one side of the road, there is a sports center. On the other side of the road is a company, the tight company. So if maybe more future passengers will be interested if the bus stop be a little bit that shifted that way. And the other reason is on our side there is a pedestrian walk and the biking way, and when we drive into our property and is a big vehicle waiting on the bus stop, standing on the bus stop, is block the view, so won't able to see any bikers. Sometimes the rollers, scooters, they move relatively quickly. So when we are waiting for the traffic and would like to turn in, and can't see properly what is the area which one is covered, and just maybe can be the problem. So it's only keep the pedestrian walkers and bikers, scooters more safe.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Anyone got any questions on that one? No, it's pretty strict. Welcome, Suresh.
Not a question, but a comment. You did very well with your first English. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, that's the last of our deputations. So from then we move on to item 6, which is presentation of petitions, of which there are none. So then moving on to number 7, which is the submissions committee. Minutes, is that just a case of just to receive those? Yep. Okay, we have a mover to receive those minutes, please. Suresh, move. David, second. Very much. Number 8, staff reports, talking about public transport infrastructure improvements along Route 17. Thank you, Jane.
Hello, thanks for having us. So I'm Sarah Thorne. I'm now the Principal Advisor for Public Transport.
I'm Lachlan Bevan. I'm a Senior Engineer in the Traffic Operations team.
So firstly, would you like me to take you through the report, or do we want to get straight into the details of the bus stops?
Probably some of the details. I think for what the board is to say, we're quite comfortable on some of the bus stops. So it's mainly some of the ones that have been raised by some of the residents who would probably like to focus more back on.
Next up, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we do.
Sure.
So the Carlton Mill one, kind of specifically, that was talked about, and there's one of the deputations and Warridge's Road.
Yes.
And there was there, they were the main two that we would decide to get some of the context behind some of the details, and I guess some of the questions we might have based on what the residents have requested.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's through you, Mr. Chair. Just really some of the suggestions and themes that came up through those submissions. They're really going to be where some of our questions are anyway. So if you want to take those.
Yes. Okay. So the overarching strategy of this project is to make sure that all our bus stops meet our minimum standards. So I've had lots of conversations with bus drivers and bus passengers and looking at the current condition of our bus stops. And it's really important that we line mark all our bus stops to council standard. So that generally means 12 metres of no stopping coming into the bus stop, and then 14 or 15 metres for the bus box, and then 5 metres of no stopping after the bus stop. If you can imagine, if you're driving around and you're trying to find a park, it's really impossible to swing into a parking space when there's parked cars there. So it can be quite disruptive for cyclists and traffic along the road, and it also makes it quite inaccessible for people with any disability to access that bus stop. So 41 Carlton Mill Road, that is an existing bus stop that's currently not line marked. When we have a bus stop that's not line marked, people can't park 6 metres either side of that bus stop sign, which essentially means that people can park in areas that obstruct a bus coming in. So we're proposing to line mark it to council standard. It does mean that we lose that parking space outside of 41, and we probably lose another parking space outside of 50, 55.
In terms of the specific placement of those,
Yeah.
what's the process that goes around, like how you pick out? So obviously there's some existing stocks kind of in the area and there's some slight adjustments being made. How does that process work? So for example, if residents have said, pulling out of that driveway, that's causing a blind spot on both sides with the vehicles, is there anything we can do? Can we actually go away and have a look and say, hey, if we actually move that section down, it might have slightly less impact on the overall visibility and safety for, I guess, all of the driveways in that particular spot? Like, is that something we can look at?
Yeah, so we definitely try and optimize sight lines for vehicles exiting side roads and driveways where we can, and we try and utilize no stopping over driveways to limit that parking loss.
If I could just say with regard to number 41, or the stop outside number 41, where we've got located the bus stop and the associated parking restrictions will actually provide improvements for visibility coming out of it. At the moment, people can park right up to the driveway or within 1 metre of the usable driveway on the western side of that driveway. We've now got 12 metres of stopping restrictions there, which means no one can park there. And on the eastern side, with marking the bus stop, that's clear for 19 odd metres.
Okay. So the image we had shown where we had the car blocking visibility there, where at the moment that's primarily because it doesn't have the, I'm not sure if that's going to be the longer side or the shorter side with the orientation where those stops are in terms of the way we're looking at that photo. That should address some of those issues, and that's, I guess, a legacy issue. So that'd be correct.
Yeah, as I spoke before, it will improve visibility at that particular location.
Yeah,
For the south side.
Yeah, but that photo I think was specifically for 18 Carlton Mill Road, just for clarity.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions around that?
Yeah, just on that, there was the suggestion, of perhaps investigating moving that east, towards, is it Cheltenham? Was that looked into, or is that something that would be feasible or have merit in? I guess to read with another way, are there any reasons why that might not be viable?
No, that is a completely viable position for that bus stop.
Okay.
Another question from me. How far on either, from these bus stops on either side, how far is the nearest bus stop? Is that kind of based around that 250 or 400 metre?
Yes, between that, yes, but it's pretty much just optimising the walking distance. So we try and have the bus stops so that we optimise people within a 5-minute walking catchment to that bus stop. So we might get a lot of people walking down. Sorry, I can't read that street. Cheltenham. Yeah.
Do we know how far it is from the next one? Like, actually know the distance, the actual distance from the next one up on each side from those specific ones? Do we know what that distance is in terms of in that range?
I can look it up for you.
Yeah.
We have about 5 passengers using that bus stop per day. That's relevant information, and PT Futures. And when we increase that bus frequency, we'll probably get around 10 people per day. That's what we're trying to achieve with the increase in frequency and the improved public transport infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so we're about roughly 180 metres to the bus stop to the east. And
James and Aaron.
About 360 to the bus stop to the west.
James?
Okay, well, that actually feeds into the question quite well. So you obviously wouldn't recommend, there was a suggestion to essentially delete that stop, but are you saying that you think that distance would be suboptimal, I guess? So that would be a recommendation to then delete that.
I would not recommend deleting that bus.
It's just, it's tricky for us because obviously at council, we've just gone through, the likes of PC, change 14, where the planners were looking at 800 metres sort of as an acceptable sort of walking distance and everything like that. But wish you could have advocated for us on land change 14 then with that. Okay, that's helpful.
Aaron? Sure.
Yeah, so that 5 passengers going to 10, that's suggesting that the increase in frequency will double the number of passengers. We have done other routes and increased the frequency. What's been the uptake? Has it doubled any routes?
I'm not aware of that sort of information, but we had a team of consultants doing a lot of modelling and cost benefit analysis on the PT Futures program, and that was a Greater Christchurch package of work that has been done, that was taken to the council for approval, so they approved that.
Because we're still, even after all the money spent, we're still about 30–40% lower than pre-quake bus numbers.
Well, we haven't really received that money to deliver PT Futures. This is coming out of our seats and shelters public transport budget.
That's just the 80 million one.
I believe so.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions on what so far? Yeah, Suresh.
So are we doing this marking just so that the bus stop can fall in with council standards?
Yeah.
And would you have chosen this location if you were to start afresh?
I think it's quite a sensible location. It's quite close to Hewitt's Road, which is quite a long road with quite a high catchment. I think that it's sensible because it's not around that direct bend, and sometimes when a bus stop is too close to a bend in the road, it's really hard for people to see the oncoming bus and the bus driver to see those passengers. So I'm pleased to see it a little bit further down, which is why I think you have that skewed spacing. So I wouldn't recommend shifting it as well, because that can be quite disruptive to the community and the bus passengers that are used to having that bus stop there.
That's 5 people, right?
Yes.
Not the community, just 5 out of the community. Of how many live there?
Linda?
Just a question. So I was wondering if you guys have considered not having that bus stop there, but to decrease the distance, considered moving the other already existing bus stops to kind of decrease like the gap between the existing two?
Yeah, so what I get from the wider public is that we want more seats, more shelters. And then you get the individual with the bus stop outside their house asking for it to be removed. So I think my job is to provide recommendations to increase bus patronage, to provide a facility that allows a wider group of people to use it. And so, yeah.
So on that, I mean, we should always be responding to the market. So how many people in this area have approached us saying, we want another stop here, or do we just kind of look at a route and go, right, let's throw some in? Or do we work on demand? Like there could be a couple of flats here with 10 people going, we all want to catch the bus. So that's where we'd put the next stop. Or do we not do that?
So I'm working with existing infrastructure. So this project was upgrading the existing infrastructure. I didn't want to go and change things up quite dramatically because that can, yeah.
But if we had feedback along this route asking for more stops, is probably clear.
No, I did not. I think everyone is happy with the spaces
That are currently there.
yes, but I didn't get any specific feedback around that.
Another question from me, and in terms of having two bus stops almost parallel on either side of the road, so I guess it might be a hard one to answer, but the likelihood of two buses being there at the same time, that does create quite a bottleneck. Is that something in terms of how you're placing those are considered?
Yeah, that's something that we definitely consider. We look at sort of having a 4.2 metre width between that bus stop stopping and that centre line.
Yep.
So I believe we've got that in this design. We might go into detailed design and have to shift that centre line a little bit, but it's enough space for a car and a cyclist to pass a bus.
That's one of the key elements of wanting to provide the bus, mark the bus stops properly so that the buses can fully pull into the bus stop and not be poking out and creating those types of issues.
Okay. Any other questions from the yeah.
So the process of this is about to upgrade the standard of what the buses are. And when was that last reviewed? And are we future-proofing it so that we get to a point where, we've got seating in here, but are we going to be faced with the potential that it might be a shelter in 12 months' time, or something more dramatic in 14 months' time, or those sorts of things? Can you give me some sort of confidence around what that looks like?
Yeah, so it kind of advised that they're not going to be changing the length of the buses. It's pretty much they're just going to be with that. Yes. And so the line marking that we've got that we're proposing is not going to change. And then we could be putting in a lot more shelters. I got quite a few people requesting for more shelters along this route, which I haven't included in this consultation because we don't have the funding for them yet. If I did have the funding for it, then I would reach back out to this community and say, I would like to install some shelters there.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. How about if everyone's happy, we maybe move on to the Woolridge Road one specifically, which one of our other residents raised. We could put that one up on screen and just have a discussion around that one. Okay, so does anyone have any questions they want to kick off with, or can I start that? Okay, so the question I've got firstly on the Woolridge Road one, I think when we had a briefing about it a while ago, there was a potential that it was going to be used as like a timing stop or something along those lines, but it doesn't appear that that's going to be the case now. So in that scenario then, when we're looking at demand and potential usage, can you run us through why we'd want to put those bus stops there on Woolridge Road, and we've got the Tate one just down the road from that, and there's only about 3 or 4 houses here who have kind of intimated that they're not generally going to be public transport users, just around the rationale behind that one, other than the 400 metre thing, if that's so, unless that's the primary driver.
So it was one of the drivers to space bus stops 400 metre distances. We do have the new bus route that's coming through here as well. So that was the other key driver, was that the Route 17 will now be turning onto Woolridge and then going onto Harewood and then out to the airport. I do acknowledge that there's a small catchment there. When I went out and consulted, I got one household that was very happy to have that bus stop there, and then 2 that wasn't. And then when I was out talking to residents as well, there was another household there. So they do have some other users there with the parklands and the sporting facilities. And there are a group of residents behind that parkland on Skydal Drive that may walk across that don't have good access to public transport as well. So that was the rationale for proposing this bus stop.
Okay. Suresh?
So which is the new route you mentioned just now?
Yeah. So at the moment, Route 17 terminates on Sheffield Crescent.
Yes.
ECAN went out and consulted on changing up the routes and pretty much merging Route 17 and Route 28 together so that it would start at the airport and then it would go down Orchard Road and then it would turn right onto Harewood and then it would turn right onto Woolridge and then it would turn left onto Wairaki and go all the way to Littleton, hence the name.
If I understand correctly, because I was one of the submitters on an individual basis, that because we don't have drivers and that problem is not getting sorted in the short term, the actual implementation of that is unknown. So would you be happy if we have to defer this and implement it if and when that route starts?
So there's there is a real need to have these bus stops in place and approved before that route starts, because if we don't have any bus stops along that new route, then we're not going to get that patronage uplift, and residents find it incredibly frustrating when a bus goes past their house and they want to be on it, but they just can't. Yes, I can delay the implementation of these bus stops until that route has been announced and we've got a firm date, but there is a big risk of delaying the decision making because it can take quite some time to get these board reports to these meetings and then get my contractors to go out and construct it. I don't want to delay.
So when you went out doing the consultation, what was the uptake along here? How many people said they would use the buses there?
I didn't ask that question. I asked if they were happy to have the bus stop there. So
wouldn't that be the first question? Like, do you want to catch a bus that's going past your house? And then they go, yes, we'll go, cool, it's going outside yours. And they go, excellent, it's a short walk.
As has already been mentioned by the chair, there's that whole issue of spacing between bus stops as well. As I understand it, Sarah, that fits roughly on halfway along that stretch of Aldridge Road and puts them about 400 metres apart.
Did we at least ask the church if their members would want to use the bus?
Yeah.
I believe they were, they received a.
They want to use the bus?
I didn't hear from them.
Right. Okay, then finally, for all the ones we're making the decision on today, did anyone say they were going to catch the bus because of the changes we're making?
Again, I didn't specifically ask that question. I asked
did anyone
the
offer that information and say, oh, I'm so glad you're doing this, I'm going to start catching the bus?
We got a lot of people requesting for additional shelters. We got people requesting for more bins. There was quite a few people that supported those pedestrian refuges.
So there was some asking for the additional shelter. Did they catch the bus? Or they would if there's a shelter.
So we got 11 residents specifically saying that they caught the bus. I don't have that information with me.
Okay, that's all right.
Linda, and then
Sorry, just to get my head around the actual bus route. So at the moment, we've got a bus stop in front of, do we have one in front of Tate?
yes.
We do, an existing one. So then the bus will go up towards Harewood Road and then turn right? Is that what you're saying? The
Turn left.
turn left?
Towards
Okay.
Harewood.
Isn't there another bus stop, like not too far from, is there another, how far along is the next?
So, Waimāero-Harewood, is this the intersection that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm currently working with the Wheels to Wings team about the possibility of putting some bus stops in the Harewood Road, Woolridge Road intersection.
Right, okay.
At the moment, we've got some bus stop pairs just east of along Harewood Road on Woolridge Road. So
it's right, like closer to the park. Right?
Yeah. So unfortunately, those bus stops are actually not on the route.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we're looking at
adding another one on the west side,
something like that, so that there's so that people can hop off and hop on that.
Oh yeah. So if we do get that bus stop approved, then would there be a need for this particular one? Because I feel like people can easily get off like down Harewood Road, which gets more usage anyway than Woolridge Road. And I feel like I live like right next to Nunweek Park, so I can see like the usage around it. And I think even people who use the park most of the time, well, they use the car most of the time, to be honest. But when they do, they get off right in front of Nunweek Park when they need to. And then the like people who work at Tate and the more industrial side of Woolridge Road, they would get off at the Tate bus stop area. So yeah, so my question is, do we need that if the west end of Harewood Road gets that bus stop approved? We need that particular bus stop, yeah, still?
So I probably wouldn't use the word need,
right? Because
there are adequate footpaths for those residents in the catchment to walk the 400 metres to those bus stops when I go and consult and seek recommendation and seek approval for those bus stops. They're just not ready because of the conflicts with that cycleway project.
Right, okay.
Right, last question from Sharish, and then maybe we can move on.
The 400 meters walking distance consideration, does it also apply to sparsely populated patches like this?
No, I guess in rural settings, we would have them wider and then in places that have steep hills would have them closer, and in high density areas would have them closer. And they are also governed by intersections and the catchment of people that are walking down those side streets as well. So there's a lot of consideration.
So what's the distance here for this stretch?
So this is actually about 400 metres. And it was a historic bus stop as well. We used to have buses going down Woolridge, and that's why those two pieces of road is designed like that.
Oh, with that deck, or that?
Yes, yes.
Right, I think we might just about exhausted a good list of questions on those couple of bus stops. What's the board think about looking to move on some of those? Oh, the other lady, yeah, sorry. Okay, so we do have a resident in the audience who was going to make a public forum on one of those bus stops. So, because I think we actually just managed to miss getting her on the list before the meeting started. Will we better hear from her first and then you guys get back to the table? Just real quickly.
Right now?
Yeah, it's right now. Sorry, just because we should have tried to squeeze her in beforehand. Kelly, is it Kelly in the audience? Yes, please. Come and take a seat. Thanks, guys.
Some of the ladies reply, because yesterday I realized I went to my neighbor and asked them what's the opinion about the bus stop. And then they said, what? They don't know because the letter didn't say anything. We just think we received something from the city council. And then I was there, somebody even told me they're going to stop the Russell Street, 89, I'm living 89. We just opposite the office road. And first thing I was thinking they're going to cancel the only park for me, for my house and the 89A. This may be inconvenient, but the second thought is very important for safety, public safety, because I saw many times the car crash of that, and because the bus stop and then the office road. So I think that this the safety reason is the second, and I never take it. I never know bus stopped in between how many meters, but I knowledge that, and the stop before at my house and on back, 3 of them, I think lease them for 500, maybe only 100 by them. So I think too many.
Too many bus stops close together. Yeah.
Yeah, that was outside of 89.
89, yeah.
Okay, that's- Is that the one you meant? No,
I can't see it down.
further down towards the Elmer Road corner.
Yeah, opposite Office Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where it pulls in as well, what you're saying about the dangers is that so many cars turn right into Office Road, and then if the bus is there and they're turning, someone wants to turn right, then they've kind of got to step to the left.
There's an existing one here.
Yeah, where the red roof is, I think. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions around that one so far? Yeah, James?
Yeah, thank you for that. For what's worth, I tend to agree with you, but just for my own clarity there, is it right, there's an existing bus stop there currently, is it just that they're essentially redrawing the markings over it really to make it compliant with the guidelines, is there enough?
We don't know what your proposal is.
The lady told me, and she said, going to cancel the only park for us. As first I thought it's an inconvenience, and second I said, why not going to cancel this? Because it's a dangerous corner, dangerous place, and also back to the car park, it's maybe only 100 meters.
Okay.
The fund is only 100. So why just go to cancel?
No, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding was there was an existing car park there. The proposal essentially is to redraw the line so they're compliant with the guidelines, which would mean, I think that means that there's an extension of the yellow lines by a certain amount to ensure that they are compliant, but it's not necessarily like a new bus stop, really.
So is there already a bus stop kind of?
Yeah.
And that's what I was, yeah, okay, that helps me.
I wish you check the back and the forward, how many meters bus must be there.
I don't know, I wouldn't have start.
Okay, thank you. So any other questions on that one, or if we can get staff back to the table, we can answer questions on that one as well.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much for coming in. And
Thank you.
Helpful. Can you guys come jump back up? Thank you for that. So, yeah, we're happy with the questions we've got so far on the Morridge Road and the other Culkin Mill Road one. I guess just to confirm with the one outside of 89 and 91 there, we've got an existing bus stop there already. We're extending the no parking lines for the entry for the buses to be able to pull in and pull out. For that one in particular, can you let us know what distance the nearest one is north of that and south of that one?
Quickly, just while we're doing that,
Yeah.
just wondering, Jason, and I may be far too simple, and if that's the case, let me know. There's some things here that's kind of pretty straightforward, and there's not a lot of pushback on that. What do you think is chair, if we quick wins and do that. And then what's quite clear is that there's a bit more work that needs to be done with some, such as Waldridge's and Carlton Mill. And if we go, do you know what, let's not make a decision on those ones, and then we'll get staff back and we can have a bit of a workshop around it and try and thrash that out, because otherwise we're going to be trying to make resolutions on the fly and it will go around in circles. No one's going to be happy. And it would be better almost just take a bit of breath and work through with residents and staff to get somewhere sensible.
Yep, that sounds great.
So that's just kind of my feeling on it. I don't know what the rest of the board think.
Yeah. All right.
And more important, and but also just keen to see what staff would think of that as well, because
The silence.
not whether that's a pain in the backs of staff so much, but more what's the downside then from our perspective, and what risk is that?
So I guess with this bus stop in particular, we've got a situation where we've just got a bus box with no lead in, so a car can park right up on that bus stop, and that means that the buses cannot get in to that bus stop, so they end up on an angle, and it is a significant issue for bus drivers to carry out their job. When we've got the new port to port route, we'll have more buses coming down here, and so we'll be doubling that likelihood of that car. Yeah.
If we did include that one now, how quick would the turnaround between us making the decision and that bus box actually getting updated? Would that be happening relatively quickly? Because I have seen some that took quite a amount of time. So would us making the decision and it actually being able to get done make any difference in terms of the overall timeline of that?
Yeah, so we've got a contract manager and a crew that have been assigned for this job. We've got.
So for that specific one to get it done.
No.
So they're locked and loaded and ready to go essentially, is it?
We've got them on contract to upgrade bus stops throughout.
Yeah.
Throughout Christchurch, and so I've been talking about. Yeah.
So you'll be able to prioritize. I'm just trying to get a sense of how, like, if there's going to be a timeline where if we add an extra couple of weeks or a meeting to this, would it actually, by the time they get around to it, could it still get done in the amount of time that it would have been done, just to give us that extra time to work through it? Or would it be likely that we'd be holding up the painting of those lines by taking another month or 2 weeks or whatnot?
We consulted on this in March last year, so we're now a full year from consultation to decision making, and that was primarily because I took this report to the community board in September.
Sure.
And it got paused so that I could come and do a briefing, which happened in February. So I'm now here in March, a full year later. And we do want to increase bus patronage and provide a level of service so that the wider community can access public transport. And we're working very closely with ECAN on their uplift of their service delivery in conjunction with upgrading the PT infrastructure at the same time.
Right.
Well, I think the stuff where it's over an existing bus stop there, that's just making it essentially compliant. So I think that's that's a little bit less of an imposition on residents. There, the other ones I think are more niggly, technical term, probably the ones down towards the southern end of Rossall around the Carlton corner there. And for me, I just you don't only need to look at the divergent views and stuff around there that I think if you got to review that, that's fine, but I'd kind of rather work through that one. Which is my preference.
Yeah, we get the general view for everybody.
So basically, that's going to make it safer, right?
Yes.
I don't know if that was quite clear. So that's going to make it safer. People will be able to see more. So
I'm cool with that.
And we're not putting in new bus.
We're not putting new bus stops. We're making it safer. Adding the extra
for this one here.
For this. Yes. Wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yeah.
For the people. Yeah.
So but it's the moving of the other one.
What's the 4 buses that can't get into these extended market bus stops? What's the accident rate like?
we do get buses that scrape cars as they're trying to come in and out. So that is a common occurrence. We do have accidents with, you know, cyclists and buses and cars. It's quite common, and this does improve the legibility of the street so that the bus has its own place to pull in. Yeah.
So there is a reasonable number of accidents that are avoided by these?
Yes.
Right, that's right. We draft something up on all the ones that we don't have that seem relatively straightforward. Adam, do that. So it's everything except the Woolridges and Fendalton Mill Road. Is it both of them in Carlton Mill, or is it just the 41? It's the 41 in general, on balance. Oh, it's not the greatest. Stage you speak into front of that bus sticking out, the back of those buses sticking out on that bus in particular.
I was thinking the one around
Yeah,
the 41.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, but that those ones there, the other one, both sides there.
Yep, on both sides.
I think,
So just the one side,
the resident at 18 was.
Yeah, it's not so much just from deputations, just that we've had a bit of conflicting from the residents that've been around there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and it's, yeah, it's not ideal either, but we can.
Well, here's a bus stop.
There, yeah, it doesn't, there still is one there, but
people.
Yeah.
There's like all lines. Bottom line. You're running here to Russell Street. Russell Street, yes. 18.
18 and 41.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But the others.
Helping the word bus stop, so 358, 109, right? Yep. And just one. 358, 109, yep, right?
The attachment.
We'll strike through
What will we decide this day?
Take it out, it's one road, 215.
Yeah. So it was a sort of break.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at guess about 6 meters either side. That's fine. Being to do the.
Sorry. I mean. Like a song.
You have to consult.
Yeah. Or it's just legislative.
There's no piece.
So they.
So that way you're proving your method. Yeah, everything else, but the sequence that we struck out. Right, so there is probably everything other than the two we've discussed. We get up over. Yeah, the two, the changes got right on with each other.
Just hang fire on those.
Yeah. Yeah. Two blocks. Okay. We're gonna mover for the first round. David happy to move. Linda happy to second the first round. What do you want to
Are
say?
you just so I'm clear on what you're moving? Is it the ones that?
Moving the ones that we don't have any issues with, other than the ones we discussed. Yes. So we've got David to move and Linda to second. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much, everyone, for that one. It took a little while to work through those, but it's good to try and get the outcome we can on those for our residents and also get that bus to work. Yeah, so in terms of the ones we have said no to, is it the case that we just should get those in as soon as possible to hash those out? Yeah, talk them about getting them, and we can work with that in one of our briefings. And as soon as possible to try and not delay that. I think a few times we need. Thank you. Right, hang on.
Hey, 41. 41, Carl.
It was 41, yeah. This is 50. That's one.
Oh, they say 55. That's with the existing bus stop is, yeah. Yeah, but that's what they're referring to. I guess that's the.
So the next one was the Mirren Street, Avonhead Road, Ground Road intersection safety improvements. Thanks, team, for your patience.
I'm happy to move. We've had,
yeah.
I mean, they're all.
Yeah, we don't have any.
We've been through.
Yeah.
Well, it's the more of that one we need to talk about.
Yeah. So Sam's move that one. Or second. Suresh is happy to second. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Gary for number 9. Mirren Street, Avonhead Road, Grant Road section safety improvements. Number 10, moving on to number 10, which is the Graham's Road, Waimāero Road safety improvements. We need to have any discussion about that one. That's the speed bump.
Yeah.
One there.
Happy to move.
What do you want to talk about?
The 6 month, that's related to one here, isn't it, Miriam? Yeah, so we did have a couple of questions because it was proposed about a 2-year trial of this, and what we were kind of just keen to get back was some feedback in 6 months on how successful what we're putting in place was. I think there might have been enough communication or misunderstood that we weren't necessarily asking for that to be something which was done for every project, but it was just because this was one we had some question about what we were planning to be done. Is that something that can be feasible? Like, we're not trying to set a precedent here with, hey, we're going to ask for this as a default for everything going forward, but just for this particular one in
Yes,
isolation, that's okay?
That's totally fine.
Okay,
I'm going to
cool.
do some before speed monitoring
Yeah.
after it's 6 months.
Yeah.
And also talk to the school again.
Just so if it completely goes off the rails and we can
Yes.
make some adjustments sooner than like a 2-year type scenario. Okay.
Sorry, if I can just add to this one as well, since the report went through, we also moved from Westburn School.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to let the board know that they're happy with the improvements and they see that it's a great first step.
Yeah.
But they'd like to see further things in the future.
Yeah. Thank you. Right, so we can just add that in around the 6 month and check in on how this is going. And Sam, will you need to move that one?
Yeah, move it.
Nice. David seconds. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Great, thanks, team. Number 11 was the Memorial Ave Burnside High School safety improvements and the Careers Road parking improvements as well. Is that all one? Yeah, they're all one. So does anyone have any concerns with the Careers Road, the P3 out front of the church there for that one? Just so we can kind of
No, the church is
that one.
great.
Yeah, happy with that one?
Okay.
Okay. And then the Memorial Ave one, I guess, is one where, you know, the residents come in and deputise to that. We might have some questions around that one, if you could run us through that one and that spot selection and why we couldn't potentially adjust that at all. And then Sam made a recommendation, a suggestion around the parking in that particular space too.
Yeah, first of all, the location was chosen based on communicating with the school, wherein a pedestrian pathway was coming in, and it would be leading. This proposed location would be leading up to that pedestrian pathway. So, and it was observed to have that we have a desire line for pedestrians crossing at that location. So, kids. So we are just making that location safer and not encouraging any unsafe crossing activity at that location. So yes, as indicated earlier, a pedestrian pathway which is being put in by the school is coming and finishing at that location, and we are having the crossing right at that location. With the no stopping restrictions, as we had indicated earlier, it is we want to provide the maximum, the appropriate side distance for the pedestrians crossing at this location. One thing which needs to be noted here is it's not a zebra where it is a priority crossing, it is a courtesy level crossing. So, and also it is young children crossing at that location. So yeah, we wanted to ensure that there is a appropriate side distance there. So that's the reason for the no stopping restrictions. With the school times comment, yes, there might not be many pedestrians who are crossing outside the school times at the moment now, but with the crossing facility being put in, if it is put in, we expect more pedestrians to use that location to cross. So at that point, we would expect the same level of safety for everyone. So that's the reason we would wanting.
Yeah, can I add on that? The school also use that facility, or they use the school site after school hours as well. And I know from observations that we've done there, that is mainly where the children cross. So yes, the construction gate is kind of there at the moment, but that is where the kids funnel out and walk across. But children do still cross there after those kind of peak period times where they didn't have that appropriate sight distance. They wouldn't be able to see correctly kind of that traffic flow. So they've got music and there's church on a Sunday there and things like that. So it is more than just 8:15 till 9.
So yeah, so sorry, it might have my question was a bit different. Is it possible to implement those restrictions in that spot?
On Memorial Ave?
Yeah. So all I want to do is tweak that one spot.
As in,
so
like,
can we legally do it?
Just maybe explain it again, Sam.
Like you mean having that spot, no parking between the school hours alone? Is what?
Between 8:30 and 9:30 in the morning, 2:30 and 30 in the afternoon, for example.
Yeah, that's what we were saying, that it is like we do, though we have many school kids crossing at those times, we do have many other crossing activity happening outside those times as well.
Yeah, sorry, what I'm asking is it possible to do it? So I think your recommendation is not to.
Yeah.
I just want to know whether we legally can do it.
You legally can't mark a broken yellow line and then put restrictions on that yellow line.
Yep.
You would just have to put in no parking sign and then between the hours of X and X, and then that would need to be.
Perfect. Yeah.
This
Okay.
is not a recommendation, it's that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yep.
Yeah, so it was a general question. Sure.
No problem. And then the second one was just, was just around the timing. So the deputation was around the timing of the construction. Where are we at with that? What's your view on that? So what I think what the residents are saying is why would we do it now? Could we not schedule it in to time in towards the end of the construction?
Yes and no. So there's an existing issue now that we would like to address. We can have the detailed design within the next few weeks and be ready to construct next month. But we can work with the contractors and the TM, the traffic management plan for the two sites together, so we can deliver it quite quickly. And then it would be a case of managing on site between the school construction. So the movements in and out of that gate. So the trucks come in one way and they'll be turning left coming out of the site, so they're not in direct conflict with crossing.
Okay, all right.
I'd be surprised as well if the school's having heavy vehicle movement out of there before and after school. They normally try and have it whilst children aren't at that massive. Yeah, most school construction. Yeah, my previous experience is very unusual.
Is that sort of your observation?
not accurately, not, we live right next door, we see the trucks coming past. First thing in the morning when the kids are coming to school, and there's contractors' cars going in, trucks coming out, both in and out of that one drive, right along our fence line, so we do see it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
From my kitchen.
I see it too. Driving down.
Okay.
Is that something that we can, I'd say, get assurances from, but kind of work in with the contractors to make sure that the delivery of this and that they're not overlapping, so that these issues can be addressed? Like, can we make sure that works? Because that's, I guess, one of the big concerns here is that this is going to be constructed and you have that other construction going on at the same time. Can we make a trade-off somewhere to actually have a safer delivery of both of those?
We'd have to discuss it with the store. I don't know what's in their traffic management plan.
So I want, sorry, I'm just thinking of a way forward, based on what you've said, but also what you've said. Could we add into the resolution that you talk with the school around the appropriate timing for that? So, because getting what you're saying as well, I mean, I think we'll add in the parking, if the board's happy with it, add in the parking one, but if you can just go and talk again, just to line up the most appropriate time for that construction, that might enable you to get on with it at the right time, but.
Yeah, so most of our construction around schools, we do try to do in school holidays, but that's probably when they're ramping their construction up as well. So yes, we will try and do that.
Yeah, what year we'll
talk to the school.
Yeah, Suresh.
Coming to the location itself, we had discussed this even when we had the briefing, and now I see there is a pedestrian pathway to the right lower side of the map. Has that option of having the pedestrian crossing?
Are you talking about in the middle? Because there's a fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fence. The school fence is there.
So has any other location for crossing been considered? Because the school has this boundary all the way to the traffic lights. There are no residential houses. On this side there are. So all the way from that corner to the traffic light, you pedestrians should be able to cross anywhere. Has there been an options assessment?
I comment on some of the school.
Yeah, as we said, it is like we are putting the crossing in line with the school's pathway. The pathway comes and ends there. So
they're also using, you'll notice on the top left, there's a pedestrian walkway back through to the reserve. So that was a key link that the school identified to us, that these students are going if they're going upwards. So I guess it doesn't make sense to put a pathway further down when the students are traveling up. They won't. The high school is going to travel down and then up, so not to use the lights.
Why not just ongoing on that pedestrian walkway straight? Why the zigzag?
So I think, Tricia, you're asking why isn't this pedestrian walkway in line with the walk
Just keep going there.
Well, when it was considered in terms of a place to put it, why was it not up in line with the pedestrian walkway up in the northeast quadrant, up in there?
well, as we said, like kids are coming out that way. We are having a pathway there and kids are coming out that way. So people who want to go up, I mean, to that lights, they can walk here. They want to cross here, they are crossing here. We have to find the right spot in the middle ground, and this is where the design line was observed to exist. So we wanted to make that location safer. That's what we are doing.
Yeah, and where the walkway is on this side, there's also a turning bay there. So yeah, and it's quite a well-used turning bay. So my question, I'll use the map that's up there, is why on the school side is it not like 10 meters this way to match that line there? Because you come out there, there's already a fence there. The desire line is there to there to here, which is what they're going to do anyway. They're not going to walk 5 meters that way to then go back. When you're, well, I'm a teenage thinking adult, and I still take me because my body still works. So when I get frail, I'll walk up and cross cautiously. But for now, I'll just cut the corner as they all will. Do you see where your black line is? They're pretty much exactly going to do that. So then start it at the edge of where you're coming out, because the traffic can't turn right, can only go left. So just move it. It would only be 6 or 8 meters, the one on that side, but
So we have to work with around the trees.
And we would just need to check.
The big tree in the middle.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just need
yeah.
to check visibility so that the trunk's not blocking any for the kids crossings and northbound lanes,
Right.
that they can still see traffic coming. If there's room to move it south, then we could do that if it's approved.
And
And let you know.
nothing stops us from having that, isn't it? Because we have so many crossing in the city.
Well, they're gonna do it anyway.
Correct.
The kids are gonna just hit the angle.
Well, we've tried to keep it straight,
Yeah.
but yes, we could look at that.
Yeah, because I'm not convinced this is the best spot.
Well, given where the walkway is, it kind of is, I can set the start for doing, but given the concerns of the resident and the
Yeah,
design line
okay.
and students.
So balancing
Move it by 6 meters and everyone kind of wins.
Question, Frank, can you have a exit off the street on a diagonal to the island in the middle? Is that a thing, or do they have to be in a straight line?
We generally try and keep them perpendicular because it's for also for people who are visually
Yeah,
impaired. So
yeah,
it's easier.
a straight line, okay. So that's sort of, can't really do that.
And we can't chicane it through because we'll end up with trip hazards.
But given what we've raised, you will try and bring it this way as far as you can to meet that design line as close to the tree as you can, and then we can't really ask more than that.
So we can do that and bring that back.
Okay, well, that'd be.
Can we not just?
Can we not
Yeah,
approve
that's-
this, and just make it as tight as possible?
Well, it'll affect the length of no stopping restriction outside.
Oh.
206.
So there's no delegation to be given to do that.
Yeah,
because I think we're on the same page.
I'm just thinking of speeding it up for you guys. You've listened and done a good job.
Yeah.
so.
I don't think it can be sub-delegated.
Although you can't do any works on that side, because those trucks are gonna smash it down through, like, until those works are finished, the trucks are gonna break it, I mean.
So can we push that through with the potential couple of, tweaks we've got on the proviso, can't be moved, and then, if it can't be moved, we can come back to us, can we do that, Adam? So actually, can we do an assessment to see if it can be moved, and if it can't, then us pass this design, couple of potential tweaks to it, so that they don't have to go away, find out they can't do it, and then come back and get us to pass it again. Pass on the proviso that if it can be moved, that then do that, and if it can't, we push it through. Is that something we can do?
I think it would be cleaner for it to come back.
Come back?
Yeah.
Just this one.
Okay,
It's not, yeah, no bother from staff.
Right.
Just to relook at it and then put the report back.
with the design coming back, because it sounds like the board might have a couple of minor tweaks here, can we mention those now so that when it comes back, those are already taken into account, so we don't need to rediscuss those?
Yeah, so
The Sam has a potential parking one, to try and mitigate that. I think that was one of the main ones.
Yeah, that's.
so I guess the parking one is independent of the location. Right,
So
wherever
we're
it is.
looking at the location, we'll just be looking to see if we can move it and work within the boundary of the tree
Yeah,
Correct.
at that point.
And even whatever be the new location, Sam's suggestions of having the restriction only during the school morning and afternoon hours.
yeah, yeah.
Bring it back and then do that resolution.
Okay, all right. Everyone happy to leave that, and we'll see if we can make those tweaks and bring it back and look at it at the next meeting. Thank you very much for your time on that one, everybody. We appreciate that. Number 12 was the Mirror Street, Whitfields Road intersection safety improvements. Happy to move. Sam's happy to move. David's happy to second that one. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Great. And number 13.
Thank you.
We appreciate your help on that one. Number 13.
Lisa is on Zoom.
Hello, Lisa.
Let's get Hayden to,
Unmute you.
Hello.
No.
Youth Development Fund.
Happy to move.
I'm happy to second.
Aye. I'm happy to move, and Suresh, happy to second. All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a worthy pursuit. It's a long way to go.
Definitely. And it's something quite different, I think.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 14, appointment to external organisations.
Happy to move Stowe Cartwright.
Stowe Cartwright.
That's for one of the, there's two.
Yeah, for McLean.
And Jason Middlemas, I believe, will.
I'll express an interest in that one.
If no one else will.
My appointment on there.
And Jason Middlemas will be the other one.
Yeah. Okay.
We overwhelmingly support you bring your ask.
Happy for second both.
Well, yeah, do we have a mover there?
Yeah.
That one, was James and Sherif to second those. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, it's only under the proviso that Linda will be keen to if we're elected next term to take up that one. It'll be a good learning experience. Number 15, the community board area report.
Thank you. I'll just take this report as read, and while Lisa is still on the line, aren't you, Lisa? Just a huge congratulations to her for Culture Galore, and what a fantastic event, and everyone around the city is talking about it. So thanks, and my other team members for helping out on the day.
And Rickerton missed their banner yet again.
Yes, they did. And then just the other thing, really, you'll see attached there. I know it's a lot of reading, but just the end of accountability reports from the groups that you funded in the previous year, and our funding for the next round opened today. So there'll be a heads down time for us in the office over the next few months as those applications come in, but and also seeing the new ones that come in for the part of the board area that we've received from other places. So we are still trying, Natalie's trying to organise instead of like the bus tour that we used to do at the beginning of each term, we're just going to do a trip out to Belfast and meet the groups, because it is mainly Belfast, and meet those groups out there. Linda at Belfast Network is keen to host it and have you all out there just to get them all in, rather than have them individually come and introduce themselves to you. Let's do it all in one go. So Nat will be in touch soon about when that might be.
That's good.
And then on the 17th of March, which is next week, is the Edible Garden Awards at Waimāero. So we've got all of the recipients bar one who is attending, so that's great. And instead of a guest speaker, the gardener from Waimāero is taking everyone on a bit of a tour of the gardens.
Oh, cool. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Your edible gardens.
No, they've got one, but they are planning.
Just been planted.
I was going to say they used to.
Some of that. Oh, no, it's done a little bit outside the.
Okay. Anyway, that's the plan for that day. So we'll send you some more details of that shortly. But yeah, happy to take that as
Question on that, Marianne. So just looking at the tickets that have been coming through, am I seeing quite a bit of a jump in the snacks and sols price? Does that start to trend upwards?
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because at events like Culture Law, we do hand out information about snacks and sold, and I always tend to end up on those stalls. But I'm still stunned about how many people don't know that snacks and sold exists, and when they find out about it, it's like, oh, how did I know? So I think the usage is starting to really grow, and people are starting to use that to contact council rather than phoning in and using the website, because I think a lot of people are finding it, because it sometimes goes straight to the contractor, and they're finding that sometimes things can happen faster through snacks and sold. Going through the,
you have a record which can be easily traced and all that. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
Have we had any feedback on our path and resurfacing?
No, I haven't heard back from the gentleman from Parks. He had a public meeting there last week.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he would have been in touch if it.
Yeah. No, I've not heard it.
So yeah, but I haven't heard from any of the residents myself. So, and I don't know if any of you have. You're more likely to, if they were upset. Jamie and David, they're probably more likely to talk to you. They haven't.
That's great. Thanks, Marianne. We move for that one.
Aye.
Second.
The participant.
Suresh, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you for that, Marianne. Elected members information exchange. Anyone got anything to talk about? Aaron.
I'll just quickly raise something that Yvonne Palmer, and you always listen to Yvonne, raised, and that was around the stock banks. She wants to know if they're all finished, and I think either we should find out through our board, or whether it's full council, on how the stock banks of Waimāero are, how they're post-quake, and all of the, obviously the first primary, but the secondary, are they all complete? Just because of the flooding up north. Christchurch has had it before, where the Waimāero split the bank and come right through, it comes through the city, and the damage is phenomenal, but it'll be nice to have an update of where they're at. And the other one is that Arana Park sits inside the primary and the secondary, and it's not a good occasion if it floods, because you can imagine what happens to the animals. There's that and a fire, it's an execution program. And the public, you think people are being washed out of their homes is bad, you wait till you see a whole lot of wild animals being shot, that'll go down like cold sick. That will be world news.
Yeah.
Because they're in a basin, and it'll just fill with water if it floods, and if there's a fire out there. That's why we don't want boy races. They also have the,
Yeah.
especially once we get the full 30 rhinos, once they're all there, imagine if you had to put them to sleep one
The
night.
same rapids as a bunch of islands.
Yeah.
Well, in the previous item, we just appointed someone to the committee that deals with the stopping.
Well, that's what kind of jogged my memory, that Yvonne raised it only 2 days ago, and I thought I'll raise it here. So do we want that as a board kind of briefing, or should it be full council?
Thanks, James.
Yeah.
Do you want as a board briefing, that's information?
Or is that the full council?
No, I think
Here,
Yeah, and then if we've got concerns, we can take it to council.
Yeah.
they didn't have anything else.
no,
Talk about no.
no, I think that's a good outcome actually today. Are we on the live stream still?
Yeah.
Okay, don't worry.
No,
I can read your minds.
Information to exchange. All good. No, all good. All right. We just have a karakia to finish. Stand here. Right. Go. Gonna here? Oh, you got wait for it. Right, I've got it here, but I'll wait for everyone else. Don't all have to be right there. You go.
Unuhia ki te uru tapanui, ki a wā te pia māma, te nākau, te tinana, te wairoa I te ara takata. Koi a rā e rongo, whakakairia ake ki ronga, ki a tina, hui e, tai e.
Great. Thank you. And on that, we can